Let's put our palms together. May our respect be to the Buddha, who is fully enlightened and the blessed. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Friends in the Dhamma, can you repeat that topic today? Yes, in the footsteps of the Buddha when attacked. So, today we are going to talk about Buddhism and religious harmony. How should you react when Buddha is attacked? How should you react when his teaching, the Dhamma, is disparaged? When the community of noble monks and nuns, when they were attacked, criticized, how should you react as followers of the Buddha? And this is what we are going to talk today, to deepen our understanding and wisdom. Well, friends, if you talk about the Buddhist history, if you study the 2,500 years of Buddhist history, you may clearly see throughout the history, Buddhists were condemned, they were massacred, Buddhist monks and nuns were killed, monasteries were destroyed, but still the Buddhism is peacefully spreading all over the world. Nobody could stop spreading the teachings of the Buddha over the world. In fact, while Buddha was living, at that time itself, a lot of problems arose. Buddhism was so popular, a lot of kings, ministers, then those billionaires, they all supported. And Buddhism was flourishing all over the India. And it became the most popular religion in India those days, 2,500 years back. But some of rival groups, those who belong to some other systems, they did not like it. They wanted to bring the popularity of the Buddha down. They wanted to disgrace him. They did not tolerate the popularity of Buddhism. So they did a lot of things. Once Buddha was accused of raping and murdering a very young woman. Have you heard about this? Well, this incident is very popular. Those days there was one young lady called Sundari. The name Sundari means beautiful. This lady was so beautiful and so popular among the people of India. So the rival groups, they hired this lady. And they told her, we need your help, we will pay you well. We want to put the ascetic Gautama in disgrace. So you should pretend like that you are having an affair with the Buddha. So she accepted the contract. Every evening she started to go towards the monastery where Buddha was living in Savatthi. in Jetavana monastery. When the people met, and when they asked where she was going, then she said, "Oh, I'm going to the monastery to spend the night with the Buddha." Early morning, she came from the monastery side to the city, and when the people asked from where she was coming, then she said, "Oh, I'm just coming from the monastery, having spent the night with the Gautama." This happened around 1 week. All of a sudden, this young lady was disappeared. Nobody knew what happened to this lady. After a few days, her dead body was found in a jungle thicket near the monastery. And all the people, those rival groups, they started to accuse the Buddha. Buddha and his disciples have raped this beautiful lady and killed her. And they went from town to town, from village to village, disgracing the Buddha and the monks. So there was a time when the monks go for alms rounds. Nobody gave them food. They all started to abuse them, insult them as murderers. Then Venerable Ananda suggests, "Buddha, let's go to another city. People do not like us." Buddha says, "Be patient. If you go to another city, suppose if something like this happen in that city, where are we going?" Then Venerable Ananda says, "Let's go to another city, another village." Buddha says, "In that case, there's no enough space for us to stay in India. Whole India is not enough for us. So be patient. The truth will come out." Meantime, this was reported to the police. The king asked his policemen, CID people, to go and do the investigations. And they found out that this lady was raped and killed by criminals hired by some other heretic beliefs. Those belong to some other religious systems to disgrace the Buddha. And these people were arrested. And after this incident, Buddha's name were more popular. And people started to praise the Buddha, his disciples, and the teachings. In this way, although these people expected to disgrace the teachings, disgrace the Buddha and his disciples, contradictory to their views, what happened, the Buddhism was very popular again. Not only that, friends, there was one lady who pretended like pregnant, and when Buddha was giving a talk one day, she went in front of the crowd and said, "Now you are giving a talk, very nice, in front of many people, but you are responsible for the baby who is in my womb." Another time, there was another lady called Magandhya, and she was so beautiful, and her parents suggested this lady to be married to the Buddha, and Buddha rejected. And this lady was having a grudge, and later on, this lady was married to one of very powerful king, King Udena. When Buddha visited this city with his followers, she hired drunken men to abuse the Buddha. What about his cousin Devadatta? He tried to kill the Buddha, hired criminal people, those professional killers, to kill the Buddha, but nobody could kill the Buddha. Nobody could stop the Buddha. Nobody could stop the teachings spreading all over the India and all over the world today. Friends, so while Buddha was living, at that time itself, there were a lot of people who did not tolerate the teachings of the Buddha. Once after he passed away, of course, you may see in China, Cambodia, India, Vietnam, Sri Lanka, and many parts of the world, Buddhism was condemned. Buddhist people were killed. Monks, nuns were killed. Monasteries were destroyed like Mahabodhi temple, Buddhist universities like Nalanda, Vikramashila were totally destroyed. And very recently you see 2001, Burmese Buddhist statues were completely destroyed. And these are only few incidents. And these things will happen again and again and again. But nobody can stop the beautiful teachings of the Buddha, peaceful teachings of the Buddha spreading all over the world. Friends, you can claim, you can bravely say that in the history of the Buddhism, not a single drop of blood is shed in the name of the teachings of the Buddha in the propagation. Buddhism was spread all over the world such a peaceful way because Buddha's teaching itself is peaceful and leads perfect peace. Some of the religions spread into the world by the power of the war. They conquered the lands and gave two options, either to be converted to be their religions or accept the death. But Buddhism is not that. It is spread in a peaceful way. But how should you react when Buddhism is attacked? When Buddha was attacked? When the teaching was disparaged? How should you attack? How should you react then? Friends, so far in the history, Buddhist people, they are very peaceful, peace-loving people. They did not go to any extent to take violent actions. Some people think this is a weak point. No, friends, it's not a weak point, it's a plus point. It's a plus point. Because the teachings of the Buddha does not encourage any type of violence. We are the people who are targeting to eradicate greed, hatred and delusion from the mind. Buddha very clearly says, because of these three evil roots, all the havocs arise, all the evil things arise in the world. We all suffer. The world is suffering because of these three evil roots. So being Buddhists, being followers of the Buddha, there is no way for us to take violent actions. There is no way for us to behave in a way to produce, increase the greed. Na atta hetu, na paratta hetu, na putta mitte, na dhananna ratta. Na ichchaya dhamme, na samidhi machchano, sasilava dhammiko vasiya. The Buddha says, if someone for the sake of himself, for the sake of sons or daughters, for the sake of somebody else, or for the sake of a religion or something else, if someone create disharmony, if someone behave unrighteous way, that is not the way the Buddhas teach. So friends, we are the people who are going to eradicate greed from our heart. So for the sake of the power, popularity or any other gain, we should not violate the peace of the society. Again friends, we recognize hatred is one of the evil roots which is rooted in our human mind. We are the ones who are going to eradicate hatred from our mind. So there is no way for us to go to the violent ends, to react in a violent way, to do tit for tat. Because our aim is to eradicate violence. Our aim is to achieve perfect peace in our mind. Our aim is to establish peace among fellow brothers and sisters. So the moment that you go against this and you are stepping into violence and that is not the teachings and you are going away from the teachings. Again friends, Buddhists, we follow the path which leads to enlightenment. Our aim is to eradicate delusion. Our aim is to eradicate ignorance, foolishness. So there is no way for the Buddhists for foolish behavior, for ignorant behavior, to take actions with deluded mind. So that is why, friends, Buddhists are very peaceful so far. As long as Buddhist monks, nuns and lay disciples, they practice the teachings, they dedicate themselves to follow the path, they dedicate themselves to stand for the righteousness, nothing will happen, friends. Buddhism will spread all over the world, every nook and corners of the world. Nobody can stop that. It is spread all over the world peacefully, and it will spread in the world. So friends, you have not taken any violent actions so far in the history. Be happy, it's your plus point. It's not a negative point, it's not a weak point. But friends, does it mean that you have to keep quiet when the teachings of the Buddha is disparaged, when the teaching is misinterpreted? It does not mean that you have to keep quiet and without taking any actions. That is a weak point. It is true that we should not go to the violent ends. We should not take any violent actions. But it is your right, it is your duty to take actions to preserve the teachings of the Buddha. If Buddhist monks and nuns do not come forward to stand for the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha, who else is coming to do that? If the Buddhist people, if the followers of the Buddha, if they do not stand to protect, to preserve the teachings of the Buddha, who is going to do that on the earth? Nobody else. So it's your duty, it's my duty, it's our duty to preserve the teachings, to stand for the righteousness. So we have to take actions which is righteous actions, which is the righteous way. So friends, few months ago, when Pastor Ronnie, when he disparaged the teachings of the Buddha, it is some of our Buddhist people's the positive action which opened the eyes of the authority to take the actions against this. Suppose if the Buddhist people were kept quiet, silently suffered, then nobody is going to take any actions. So you have right to take actions. You should take right actions in a righteous way. In a land where the law is established, you can go through the law. So it is your plus point this time that you voiced out, and authority could take actions against these discriminations. So in the future too, when these kind of occasions arise, we should take actions in a righteous way, having right understanding in harmonious way. But we never ever go to the violent ends, and that is not our way. That is not the Buddha's way. In fact, Buddhism is a religion which encourages religious harmony, peace in the society. Friends, why do you need a religion? Why do you need a religion? Have you heard about that gods are having any religion? Gods are having any religion? We do not hear it. Gods, they do not have religions, but they introduce religions to human beings. Have you heard about animals? They are having any religions? Then only you are having a religion. Why does man need a religion? Friends, religion is there for the human beings to establish peace, harmony. Religion is there for the human beings to become more civilized. Religion is there for the human beings to become more understanding. Religion is there to create happiness. But if a religious teacher, if a religious leader create disharmony among the fellow brothers and sisters, he is going away from his mission. If a religion fails to establish peace on the earth, then the purpose of that religion is defeated. No point of that religion, having that religion. If brothers and sisters of a religion, if they cannot bring the peace and harmony to fellow brothers and sisters, and if they create havoc, then the purpose of that religion is defeated, friends. So when it comes to the Buddhism, Buddhism is enriched with a lot of values which encourage peace, harmony among the fellow brothers and sisters. So let's talk a bit about the religious harmony that Buddhism encourages. How should you behave in a society where a lot of religions, where a lot of cultures, where a lot of people have got various kind of thinkings, and how should you behave? How should you maintain the peace and harmony? Friends, we have one of very noble concept, which is metta. What is metta? What is metta? Loving kindness. Although it is translated as loving kindness, that is not the perfect meaning of the word metta. In fact, metta is love. But this love is different. Ordinary love is mixed with greed, hatred and delusion. When it comes to metta, what we mean by this word is pure love, which is devoid with greed, hatred and delusion. So this love, which is metta, is for all the living beings. All the religions in the world teach love, but they have got their own limitations. Some religions teach love your fellow brothers and sisters. So in that sense, they have put a limit. They can love only to their brothers and sisters who belong to that religion. So they can go to the extent to kill the disbelievers, those who are not belong to that religion. They do not have to love to those who do not belong to that particular religion. And some religions teach love human beings, fellow human beings. So in that case, again they put a barrier. Animals are not included in this love. So they can kill animals. It's alright. When it comes to the Buddhism encourages the term metta, which goes beyond all the labels. So Buddhist love should be radiated beyond all the caste, class, colors, beyond the human, divine, animals. All the living beings are included. Those who can be seen, those who cannot be seen, those who are living near or far, those who live in Singapore or many other countries, those human beings as well as non-human beings, those divine beings or those beings who live in suffering realms, and all the kind of living beings in this world existence, may they all be free from worries and sufferings. That is how Buddhists radiate their love towards whole universe. So here, friends, there is no way for the Buddhists to keep any violent thoughts, but only the peace. Suppose if Buddhists encourage love among only the Buddhists, you may have grudges, you may have ill will towards the others who do not follow the Buddhist teachings, who are not Buddhists. But we have overcome that barrier. So we radiate loving kindness to all the human beings. But again, if Buddhism teach radiate loving kindness only to human beings, you may have got grudges, ill will towards animals and other living beings. So we have overcome that barrier too. And we say, radiate loving kindness towards all the animals and non-human beings, those who are having physical bodies or astral bodies, those who can be seen or cannot be seen. So this concept of metta embraces all the kind of living beings, and it encourages peace. And again, friends, Buddhism encouraged to respect all religions in the world. Buddhism recognized that all the religions teach something good. Buddhists never say that only Buddhists can go to the heaven. Buddhists never say that non-Buddhists cannot go to the heaven. Buddhists never say that only the Buddhists are supreme and the others are not supreme. So in this way, friends, Buddhism teaches to respect and accept all the religions. Buddhism doesn't say that only Buddhism reveals the truth, all the others do not reveal the truth. Buddhism recognizes the truth in every religion, in different level. So in this way, friends, Buddhism encourages religious harmony. One day, a billionaire called Upali, he was a disciple of Jaina Mahavira. Have you heard about Jaina religion? Jaina religion also was one of very popular religion in India in Buddha's time. This Upali was a billionaire and a great supporter of that religion. And he was well versed in Jaina Dhamma, Jaina teachings. And the Jaina Mahavira, the founder of that religion, one day sent this disciple to defeat the Buddha in religious debate. So Upali went to the Buddha to debate with the Buddha to defeat him and convert Buddha to become a Jaina follower. He went there and their religious discussion was based on the karmic theory. Because karmic theory that Buddha teach is somewhat different from the Jaina religion. So they had a religious discussion. What happened at the end of the discussion, this billionaire, Upali, was convinced that the Buddha's teaching is the true teachings, which his own master's one is not a complete teachings. And he said, Venerable Sir, I want to become a Buddhist. Please accept me as a lay follower. So over there the Buddha says, do not hurry. Being a wise person, it is not nice for you to be hurry. Think very carefully. It is proper for a person like you who is very popular in this city to think carefully and take actions. Don't hurry to become a Buddhist. Then he was so pleased and so happy. And he said, Venerable Sir, if I tell some other religious teachers that I want to become their followers, they will put up the banners and they will carry me in the cities and saying so and so became our follower. But you are saying to consider it. Venerable Sir, I want to become a Buddhist. I like your teachings. Then Buddha said, well, in that case, with one promise. You can become a Buddhist, you can follow the teachings. But you should promise me that you should render your service and support to your former religious teacher. You should respect them, you should support them. Still you should give your material support for those venerable monks and nuns in that religion. With that promise, he became a Buddhist. So friends, these incidents teach us the Buddha's attitude towards the other religions. Buddhists, we are not going to convert the people. Why? There's nothing to do with the blind faith in Buddhism. Because someone can become a Buddhist having understood the teachings. So the right understanding is the foundation of this religion. No one can become a Buddhist by birth, but by practice. So the practice comes with right understanding. So the Noble Eightfold Path starts with right understanding, Samma Ditti. When you have right understanding, you avoid all the kind of extremes. You follow the middle path. So there's no way for the Buddhists to become extremist and go to the extent to take violent actions. Well, how should you react when Buddha is attacked? As I told you from the right beginning, it is gain for you. It is your plus point. It is plus point of all the Buddhist brothers and sisters that so far in the history we did not go to the violent ends, violent actions, whatever happens in. And again, friends, again if we keep quiet when the teaching is disparaged, misinterpreted, when the things are going against the Buddhists, it is also not the right way. We should take the righteous actions. We should take actions in a meaningful way, according to the law of the country, according to the righteous way. This incident happened one day. Buddha was going along a road from Nalanda with a large group of monks. Then there was another religious teacher together with his disciples, Suppiya and Brahmadatta. These two are also following the monks close behind. And this teacher always criticized the Buddha, criticized his teachings and disciple of the Buddha. But the students always found something good and always started to praise the Buddha, always started to praise his teachings and the disciples. So in this way, this teacher and the pupil, they argue. All the way they were arguing. Teacher is totally against the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha. The student is praising and supporting the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha. And these two were closely following the monks. The Buddha and the other venerable monks stopped by the side of the road to spend the night. And following the morning, the monks got together and they were discussing. They were talking about what happened the day before. Then the Buddha happened to come. And Buddha said this, monks, if anyone criticizes me, if anyone criticizes the teachings of the Buddha, if anyone criticizes the venerable monks and nuns, you should not get angry on that account. If you get angry, you are very foolish. Why? When you get angry, you lose your mindfulness. How do you know whether these people are telling you the truth or not? So do not get angry when somebody criticizes the Buddha. Do not get angry when someone criticizes the Dhamma and Sangha. And Buddha says, do not get angry. Do not be emotionally affected, but analyze it yourself whether they are saying truth or not. And then you should explain. You should explain the truth as truth. You should explain the Dhamma well. So here Buddha says, monks, nuns and lay disciples, they should learn the Dhamma well. They should practice the Dhamma well. They should proclaim the Dhamma well. This Dhamma is good from the beginning, good in the middle and the end, which is leading from dark to light, which transform the ignorant human beings to become enlightened human beings, cruel, wicked, unwholesome human beings to become virtuous, compassionate human beings. And this is a teaching which leads all the human beings to become a noble type of human being. So you should explain these teachings. You should proclaim it. You should not keep quiet. And again he says, suppose if somebody praise me, praise this teaching and the community of monks, on that account you should not be proud. If you become proud, then it becomes a hindrance for you. So do not be emotionally affected. Again, at that moment too, maintain the calm, peace in your mind and analyze it, whether they are saying truth or not. If it is truth, you accept it. If it is not truth, you explain it without going to violent end. So here, friends, Buddha has given a very clear answer. How should you react? How should you behave when Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha was criticized, was disparaged? In fact, friends, Buddhism always encourages you for your analytical thinking. Buddhism does not encourage you to accept anything blindly. Just like when a piece of gold is given to a goldsmith, he will cut it, rub it, check it with the touchstone to make sure whether it's a genuine piece of gold. Exactly in the same manner, friends, you too should analyze the Dhamma. You should use your common sense. You should analyze it thoroughly, do investigations properly. Having done experiments, only then you should accept the teachings of the Buddha. So I think this much is enough as a talk. You may have got some questions to ask. So we'll open these sessions for question and answers.
Sisters and brothers, we shall go through the question and answer session. Should anyone have anything that you want to raise, kindly raise your hand. We shall pass the microphone back to you. Please.
Venerable, I am a polytechnic teacher, and I goes to Cambodia many times, and to bring students to actually go to the villages and try to improve on their cooking methods, to have less smoke and use less wood. Okay. I also interact with some of the communities over there, especially the poor rural community. Okay, I asked them about Buddhism. How do they practice Buddhism? And last month when I was there, it was a Vesak celebrations, and they have the king at the Angkor city, where a lot of people went over there. And they were giving Dharma and all that, and they bring a lot of cash with them because there are so many monks over there. Okay, then also in the newspaper, they report monks actually drunk, take drugs, go to bar and all sort of things. Then I asked, how do you get your Dharma? Because they don't go to school. And they say, well, we don't care what the monks do. They could do something bad. As long as we get blessing from them, that's all we want. Can you comment on that?
I think you have put me in a very difficult situation. Well, all of you heard what our Dhamma brother asked. But actually, well, if monks and nuns, if they do not practice the teachings, if they do not follow the teachings, it is something wrong with them, but not something wrong with the teachings of the Buddha. When you say this, I think Cambodian people, the common people, are very wise when they say, we do not care what monks and nuns do, but as long as we get their support to follow the teachings. It has got a different meaning, friends. Monks and nuns are supposed to be more wise than you. They are supposed to know the Dhamma well than you. They are supposed to know action and reaction, how karma works, better than you. Having known the teachings well, if these monks and nuns, if they still want to behave in that way, then they will bear the consequences of it. Karma is personal, friends. Each and every one of us, we are responsible for our own thoughts, words, and the deeds. No matter whether you are a monk or a nun, if you do something evil, something unwholesome, and you are ready, you should be ready to bear the evil consequences of it. So if a monk and nun does not follow the teachings, misbehave, and they will reap their own results. But as a lay person, if you go to the extent to discriminate, to criticize with lot of anger, with lot of hatred in your mind towards these particular monks and nuns, having evil thoughts in your mind, then you are also creating your own karmic energy. Why? You are going to criticize them, you are going to disparage them with lot of hatred thoughts, with lot of evil thoughts. So in that way, you also behave in a very foolish way, and you are also creating negative karmic energy. But friend, does it mean that you do not have right to criticize these things? Does it mean that you should keep quiet then? It does not mean that you should keep quiet. Suppose if a lay disciple understands monks and nuns, they are not following the righteous way, and you have a right, but you should deal it in a righteous way. First of all, you should have pure thoughts in your mind. I'm going to bring this point with good intention for the well-being and happiness of multitude. I do not have any personal grudges towards anybody. So make sure that you are not motivated by greed, hatred, and delusion. Then the best thing is you can approach these venerable ones personally in a suitable time. Then you pick up, you talk to them nicely, very politely. You should try your best to make these monks or nuns, if you think that they are behaving in incorrect way, to make them understand. Having a lot of good thoughts, compassion in your mind. Having done so, if still they don't want to follow, if still want to go their own way, then you can just leave them alone, because it is up to them. Because of these incidents, you should not go to the extent to create negative karmic energy for yourself. So friends, not only today, even Buddha's time, there were monks, there were nuns, there were lay disciples who followed the path, practiced the Dharma, and achieved perfect enlightenment, and made their life pleasant, peaceful. As well as there were monks, nuns, and lay disciples who did not follow the teachings, who disparaged the teachings, who behaved totally different way, and they end up in misery in this life itself, and they end up in the suffering realms after the death. So it does not matter whether you are a monk or nun or a lay disciple, as long as you follow the teachings with right understanding, that is for your own good. And if you follow it in a wrong way, that is for your own end. And Buddha says to a group of monks one day, you should, if you catch a poisonous snake, make sure that you catch it with the head, not with the tail. So he says, those people who take this poisonous snake by tail, and the snakes will bite them back and will end up in the death. In the same manner, being monks and nuns, you are supposed to behave, supposed to have righteous conduct, supposed to be religious leaders, and if you are not behaving, and you are taking the poisonous snake by its tail. So it is up to the monks and nuns. I do not know whether you got the answer to the question. If there's anything left out, please ask again. Out of compassion, please use the mic for the other people.
I'm sorry, we have lack of mic. I think we will try to get 1 or 2 mics.
Venerable, I asked another question to someone who seems to be more educated. And he said, Buddha predicted that 2,500 years from his time, Buddhism would have declined down to nothing. And so you can see that our world is now full of corruptions and full of materialism. Other religions are winning. And so we are just waiting for the time when the new Buddha will come and help us. So that is their explanation.
In fact, in monks' disciplinary code, there is a saying, when Buddha established nuns order, it is said that the dispensation of the Buddha reduced to 500 years because of introducing this nuns order. Anyway, personally, I do not think this is said by the Buddha, but I personally think maybe later on this part was edited. Maybe most probably added by the monks. Well, you can come across this portion only in monks' Vinaya ethics or Patimokkha. So many scholars also guess it may be later on some monks, scholars added this later on. But what I can tell you according to the teachings of the Buddha, Buddha says very clearly this. In Mahaparinibbana Sutta, he says, monks, as long as monks and nuns and lay disciples dedicate to practice the Dhamma, as long as they practice honestly, this world will not be empty by enlightened ones. As long as this Dhamma is practiced, it bears the fruit. That is why when you pay respect to the Dhamma, you say, Sanditthiko Akaliko. These two terms. Sanditthika means the results can be achieved in this life itself. Akaliko goes beyond the barriers of the time. In the past, monks and nuns, they practiced and became enlightened. In the present, monks and nuns and lay disciples practicing, and those who practice well achieve enlightenment. In the future too, whoever practice this path will become enlightened. So as long as monks and nuns and lay disciples dedicate themselves to practice, to that extent the dispensation of the Buddha will survive. But eventually things will come to the end. Nothing is permanent. The society is getting more and more materialistic. If you think about the past, those days monks and nuns, they could recite the Dhamma by heart. Many monks and nuns and the lay disciples, they could memorize the Dhamma very well in their mind. Now what happened? Books came to existence, CD, VCD, internet, radio, all these technology came, and we save all these data in the computer hard disk now, not in our hard disk. So when the Dhamma is away in the libraries and we do not practice the Dhamma, when we become more materialistic, when the monks and nuns and the lay disciples, they do not practice much, they do not learn the Dhamma well, then the Dhamma is going away from them. So eventually there will be a time where nobody knows this Dhamma, where nobody knows how to practice, and there will be periods nobody knows path for the freedom. And eventually these teachings will disappear from the world. Because friends, nothing is permanent. Everything is subject to change. So it depends on the human beings. So far 2,500 years, we preserve these teachings. And how far we can go, that all depend on the human beings. It all depend on us. To what extent we can preserve these teachings and practice, to that extent, the teachings of the Buddha, the dispensation of the Buddha will survive. And eventually, later, sooner or later, and it will come to the end. After a long, long period of time, when the teaching is no more there, one energetic man, someone, will work diligently, will realize this same truth, and will reestablish this same Dhamma, this same truth to the world. That person is known as a Buddha. And it's a good wish, better than nothing to wish to be born in the future with in the Maitri Buddha's time, but it's not compulsory that you have to wait till Maitri Buddha appeared in the world to attain enlightenment. The teachings of the Buddha is available here and now. You should try your best. What Buddha says is this: rare is the life of a human being. You all are very lucky by birth. You all are very, very fortunate by birth to be born as human beings. Intelligent, wise human beings. The rare is the rising of the Buddha in the world. Though Buddha is not living, his Dhamma is still existing. Rare is the opportunity to listen to the true teachings of the Buddha. So Dhamma is available. And it is difficult to lead a righteous way of life. And Buddha says, having been born as human beings in a time where the teachings is still existing, being wise human beings, what should be done by the wise human beings? Wherever it is possible, refrain from the evil. Wherever it is possible, cultivate the good. Wherever it is possible, purify your mind. Dedicate yourself to practice these teachings. Then eventually you will move from dark to light. You will move from light to light. When the favorable conditions in this life or later life, another life, you will become enlightenment. But you have to start from somewhere. So those people, there may be some worthy people who wish to be born in the time when the future Buddha arise and become monks and nuns and be enlightened. That's also very good aspirations, but not compulsory that everybody should have that wishes. Feel free, have freedom. You can become a Buddha, you can become a Pacceka Buddha, or you can become an Arahant. And whatever the way you can become enlightened. And what is important is the practice. You have to start from somewhere, this spiritual journey. I guess yes, you do not have got anything else?
Yeah, this one.
Good afternoon, Venerable. Good afternoon, fellow Dhamma brothers and sisters. I'm asking this question from my own experience. As a scenario like this, someone already know that I'm learning Dhamma and I believe that this is a path that I want to take. But because that person comes from another religion, which I don't want to name, she has been brainwashed by her teachers. So she's trying very hard to convert me to her religion. And she started making a lot of remarks that attack Buddhism. Being a Dhamma practitioner, we try to be very compassionate. We listen, we lend our ears. And at the end of the discussion, we try to tell them that what we have learned from our Bhante, from our Lord Buddha, and from our fellow Dhamma brothers and sisters. But the problem is the person has already been brainwashed, and he or she just refuses to listen to you and keep telling you that you should come to my religion. So under this kind of situation, what should we do? Do we just walk away, or should we carry on with the discussion, be very compassionate, and just try our very best to share with them what we have learned? Thank you very much.
I think this is, I think many of you have experienced this. This is very common. Some people, they want to convert the other people to their own faith. But I think we are all very wise human beings. We are all very intelligent human beings. As much as I respect you, you should respect me. As much as I respect your way of thinking, you too should respect my way of thinking. As much as I respect your religion, you should respect my religion too. That is how wise human beings should behave. Civilized human beings should behave in that way. We all have freedom of thinking. No one should become the prisoner of any other persons. So we should have our own freedom to think, inquire. Well, in Buddhism, you are given this freedom. You are allowed to criticize, analyze, scrutinize the teachings, and you are supposed to accept the teachings with right understanding. When you understand it in its right way, this is the path which I want to follow. When you convince by yourself to follow it, and when you dedicate to follow that path, that's your freedom. Nobody has got the authority to force you to be converted to some other religions. So when these good friends approach you, sometimes maybe they are approaching with a lot of compassion. Maybe they think themselves that they are in the right track and they want to show the right path for the others. So you should very politely, as a civilized human being, should make the other person understand what is the term mean by civilized, what is the term mean by polite. Correct? So you should make the other person understand. Come, let's talk. I guess that you also very intelligent and very wise. We are wise human beings. Then you should come to the discussion, friendly discussions. And if the other party is, of course, willing to have a discussion to be carried out with good understanding, having this basic understanding, is good for you to explain how you think about the life. And in this way, sometimes the other party may understand, and if that person is going to be a problem, like always trying to convert you, it will be good for you to tell, let's keep our friendship, but let's do not talk about the religions. Maybe in a polite way you have to learn how to deal with these kind of problems. But depend on the situation, depend on the people, it will be very, very difficult. And it is not only for you, it happens to us also. Few days ago, yes, I'm telling you my experience. Last week I was not feeling well, so I wanted to see the doctor. So I ordered a taxi, and I got into the taxi. Then this gentleman, he started, well, friend, I like to share my thoughts with you. And he started to teach about the God and all these. So I listened very carefully from the temple until he come to the church, all the way he talked. So I listened very patiently, and at the end I said, thank you very much for your sharing. That's it. So some people maybe, he very urgently wanted me to accept his religion and follow it. So I thank him and I go down from the vehicle. So there are people like that. So you have to be patient and you have to be very wise. Well, I don't see that all the people are like this. Maybe some people, they believe that if you convert, okay, I think in airlines, if you get 10 people, you can get a free ticket. Maybe they get extra seat in the heaven in that way. Maybe, if they can get more people.
Yeah, Bante, there's one question over this part here.
Bante, if I were you, I would most probably not have paid the taxi fare. God would pay the taxi fare on your behalf. Okay. I'm Henry, your committee member. I hope this book will help the sister. This book is published by Kong Meng San and Kwan Im Ucho Temple, and it answers the questions posed by the sister. How the title is Agree to Disagree. Try to get a hold of the hard copy. Otherwise, you may go to the website and you can get the PDF English and Chinese version, www.conversion.buddhist.sg. It gives you various scenarios how your boss would try to convert you, somebody in your family would try to convert you, what happens when you meet a stranger on the street and they try how to say no in a nice way. But I think the most important message this book tries to say is that if you call yourself a Buddhist, make sure you know the Dhamma. Because if you don't know the Dhamma, nobody can convert you. Thank you.
Yeah, I think I really agree with brother. If you know the Dhamma, you cannot be converted to any religion. If you do not know the Dhamma, yes, me. So Buddhism we encourage not only Buddhism, you also can read other religious books. You can read other religious books. We do not prohibit you reading other religious books, not like in other religions. When you become a follower of some other religions, you become a prisoner. Why? You are not allowed to go to other religious places. You are not allowed to read other religious books. And you are not allowed to access to the knowledge. But in Buddhism, you are allowed to access the knowledge of the other religions. So when you know the other religions as well as Buddhism, you can compare very well. And when you go to the market, you know what to get and without being cheated.
Anyway, the book is this color, Disagree to Disagree. I think available at the Coming Sun. Right. There's one question.
Dear Venerable, I got something to share and some question to ask. I think just now the sister have asked a question about the other religion. Actually, when I was schooling, a lot of my friends tried to convert me. Initially, I was a bit impatient, but after that, I some sort of enjoyed it. The reason, let me share why I enjoyed it. First of all, I asked myself, what is my own faith? Because at a certain point in time, they posed a certain question at me, and then I was thinking, maybe what they say is correct. So I think when other religion question or ask, like the other brother rightly say, we should ask ourselves, what is our own thinking? Do we have enough information to some sort of question them back? Usually what I do is that, why I enjoy it, because first of all, I must make sure I have enough time. Typically, when we have a religious discussion, easily you take 1 hour and plus, because they will share, it's like sparring. They will share with us their point of view. Then I accept and say, then I'll ask them question about karma, all these things. Then they will try to use another way. So in the end, we involve in a very logical and very intellectual discussion. That's why I enjoy in the sense that it's actually become a debate and more of understanding one another. So I learned from there that it's very important for us to understand our own teaching very well before we can so-called involve in discussion. Otherwise become a lot of like selling. Okay, now my question is that I think other religions, they are very strong in sales and marketing. They evolve. And I think all of us believe that Buddhism is good. I have few questions. First of all is that since we believe it's good, why don't we try to share with other people? I mean, as you evolve, and then we also improve our sales and marketing effort. I think our sales and marketing effort is a bit lacking. My second question is that sometimes we being lay people, we have problems, etc. So I myself, I'll go to temple and seek guidance, etc. So which some sort of conflict with the point on self-reliance. I would like to seek your advice as in, is it still following the Buddhist teaching and whether it helps? Because personally I find that sometimes we need someone with power to share with us temporarily. So for us to solve this problem, then after that we become self-reliant again. Okay, thanks.
You're asking two questions. In fact, when we talk about the missionaries in the world, Buddha is the first established missionary service in a proper way and dispatch the monks to different directions. And when the Buddha sent the monks, the first 60 batch of monks who were all enlightened, And he sent them in different directions, saying, monks, go in different directions. Teach the Dharma, which is good in the beginning, good in the middle, good in the end, for the well-being and happiness of multitude, for the benefit of people, human beings and divine beings. Share this Dhamma out of great compassion. Buddha, having achieved perfect enlightenment, until he passed away, 45 years, he dedicated himself to propagate these teachings. His followers, monks and nuns, they too did the same. But friends, Buddha's followers are fourfold. Who are the fourfold disciples of the Buddha? Monks, nuns, female and male lay disciples. And these are the four groups of disciples. Buddha expected from monks, nuns, as well as female and male lay disciples to learn the Dhamma, to practice the Dhamma, to defend the Dhamma, to share the Dhamma out of compassion with the other fellow brothers and sisters. Well, there was one beautiful dialogue between Buddha and Mara. Have you heard about Mara? Mara is the evil one. Anyway, when Buddha attained perfect enlightenment, this so-called Mara came and said, Venerable sir, now you are fully enlightened. And you did what had to be done. And no point of living, and it is better for you to pass away. Then Buddha said, no, until such a time I have got clever monks, nuns, lay disciples who can teach the Dhamma, who can defend my teaching, who are fully enlightened, who are the propagators of the Dhamma. I am not going to pass away. So I have a mission to establish the monks, nuns and lay disciples to carry on this task, to spread the teachings. Then it is said later on in Mahaparinibbana Sutta, this so-called Mara appeared again. And he said, well, the other day you told me that until such a time that you are having monks and nuns and lay disciples who are expert in Dhamma, you are not going to pass away. Now you are having the monks, now you are having the nuns and lay disciples who are female and male, who are experts in the Dhamma, who can share the Dhamma, and now it is proper for you to pass away. And it is said, then he accepted, all right, 3 months later, I will pass away. Whatever this is, this incident, this particular dialogue shows us something very well. Buddha expected not only from monks and nuns, but from lay disciples, from you all, to share this Dhamma with the others. Do you know in this Buddha's time, there were the lay disciples like Chitta, an expert in the Dhamma, Visakha, then Anathapindika, there were many others who knew the Dhamma, practiced the Dhamma, and shared the Dhamma. Singapore is well known, well developed materially, very fortunate type of country. What is lacking here for you is the Dhamma knowledge. We have got a lot of rich temples here, very rich temples, very big temples we are having, a lot of monks and nuns too. But friends, I don't think personally that we have done enough here for the people when it comes to the Dhamma. So, each and every one of you have got the potential, and you learn the Dhamma and you share the Dhamma. Someone may give the talks, someone may write the books, someone may individually share the Dhamma. And this Dhamma brother said, yes, the other people who belong to some other religions, when they embrace those religions, they are very enthusiastic and they want to share the Dhamma. They want to share their teachings. And why are we not? And you should ask from yourself, if you really know this is the Dhamma that you want to follow, if you convinced by yourself, if you know that it is good, and if you know that when it is practiced, it leads for your own happiness and for the happiness of the others, why do you want to become selfish? Why don't you share the good things with the others? So share the Dhamma with the others. It can be your sister, can be your brother, can be a mother, father, or a friend, or somebody else. So, Buddha named these people who share the Dhamma with the term Kalyana Mitta. Kalyana Mitta is a term that you can use either for a monk or a nun or a lay person whoever share the teachings out of great compassion. So it is your duty, and I hope that you all will, according to your capacity, will share this Dhamma, and that's your duty. Yes. And there was another question. Yeah. Yes, the term sadhu, yeah, that is, what does it mean of sadhu? Rejoice, yeah, well said. I agree, yes, good. All this meaning is there. Well, so I think you all agree with the brother also, and you should all share the Dhamma with our fellow brothers and sisters wherever it is possible. And also there's another question, just a moment. Yeah. Well, okay. So there's another question the other brother asked. The self-reliance, is it still valid? Is it? Of course, the self-reliance. That is something that you have to be very, very happy about. Being a wise human being, and Buddha says, you have got all the potential with you. You are not a puppet of anyone. And you have the courage and the potential to achieve what you want. So the Buddhism, of course, encourages self-reliance. And the enlightenment depends on you. But does not mean, okay, when the other religions, when they face problems, they have got their God. Correct? And the God will come forward and help. And what about you? And do you think that you are left alone? You do have not only one God, you have three gods. Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha. Triple gems. Natti me saranang anyam, Buddha me saranang warang. Dhammo me saranang warang. Sangho me saranang warang. I do not have any other refuge other than the Buddha, other than his teachings, other than the noble community of monks. So do not think that you are left alone, that you do not have anybody to help. You have triple gems in your life. You have Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha. And not only that, you have Bodhisattvas. You have got virtuous Devas. Buddhist concept on God is different. Buddhists too, we accept there are gods and virtuous beings. There are many ways that you can access them. There are many ways that you can get help. So you should not think when you are in difficult situations, you do not have somebody to turn and ask help. In fact, this topic we are going to talk, I do not know the date. We are going to, anyway, here we are going to have, yes, we are going to have this talk, so I think I should not tell it now, then many of them will not come.
Sisters and brothers, due to time constraint, we cannot take any last questions. All right. So we shall prostrate 3 times in a gratefulness